Have you ever felt like the old leadership playbook just doesn't work anymore? You know, that the whole top-down approach feels kind of broken in our crazy complex world? Well, if that sounds familiar, you're going to want to see this. We're about to dive into a really powerful new framework that completely flips the script on what it means to lead, and it all starts from the inside out. All right, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to pinpoint exactly why the old models are failing us. Then, we'll introduce something called the SEUS framework. We'll start with its core. After that, we'll look outward to organization and society. And finally, we'll tie it all together to show you what it really means to be a complete leader today. So, let's get right to the heart of the problem. We're living in this world of non-stop change, right? It's complex. But so many people are still trying to lead using this outdated, top-down playbook. And, as you're about to see, that old approach is really starting to show some serious cracks. So let me ask you this. What really makes someone a great leader in this day and age? Is it just about hitting your numbers or having a super charismatic personality? Well, this framework argues that if that's all you're banking on, you're actually missing the most important pieces of the puzzle. And this, right here, is the core issue. When you just rely on your raw talent or your fancy job title, you're basically building a house on sand. It's an unstable foundation. And that, inevitably, leads to burnout, to feeling overwhelmed, and to instability. Without a deeper system in place, leadership just becomes guesswork. And honestly, that's a really risky game to be playing. So, the big question is, how do you build that solid foundation? Well, this is where the SOOS framework comes in. It gives you a structured, full-circle approach that's designed to cut right through all that chaos so many leaders are feeling.
So what is SOUS? It's an acronym that stands for Self, Others, Organization, and Society. I want you to think of it as a complete loop, a full circle. Each one of these parts is totally essential, and the real magic happens when you build your leadership from the inside out, starting with, you guessed it, the self.
And I have to tell you, the order here is absolutely intentional. It's not random. The journey always begins with the self. From there, it expands outward to how you connect with others, then to how you build effective organizations, and finally, how you make a real positive impact on society. This progression, well, that's the secret sauce. So let's zoom in on those first two pillars, what we can call the internal foundation. This is all about your relationship with yourself and then your relationships with the people around you. And this first step, look, it's completely non-negotiable. The framework is crystal clear on this. Before you can even think about leading anyone else, you absolutely must learn how to lead yourself. Without that deep self-awareness, knowing your own thoughts, your habits, your triggers, you're basically flying blind. So how do you actually do that? How do you lead yourself? Well, it comes down to building some really disciplined habits. We're talking about things like journaling, taking time for reflective learning, and doing exercises that build up your mental discipline. The whole goal is to turn inward and find clarity first before you try to act outwardly.
I love this quote. It just captures the whole idea perfectly. Self-leadership is the seed that everything else grows from. If that seed doesn't take root and grow strong, your entire leadership structure is going to be shaky, no matter how talented you are.
Okay, so once you start to get that inner clarity, then you can effectively connect with the people around you. Because let's be honest, at its heart, leadership is influence, and influence happens through genuine human connection. Now, what's so interesting here is that these aren't just soft skills. No way. These are the essential tools for building trust, for inspiring your teams, and for managing the conflicts that are, always going to pop up. This is where all that hard work on the self pillar really starts to pay off because it lets you connect with people authentically.
All right, so with that strong inner foundation of self and others in place, we can now move to the outer pillars. This is where your leadership really starts to scale up, moving into the systems you build and the wider world that you impact.
And this highlights such a crucial leap for any leader. I mean, it's one thing to inspire a team, that's great, but it's a whole other thing to build a system, a culture that actually thrives even when you're not in the room. And that is the core of the organization pillar. This part is all about thinking like an architect. It demands strategic thinking to see the big picture, smart resource management to be effective, and a real focus on designing a healthy culture where people can actually do their best work. This is how you create results that last. And that brings us to the final, outermost circle of the framework. This is where leadership really transcends just personal or organizational success. It starts to ask a much bigger question. What is my impact on the world around me?
You see, this pillar shifts the whole focus to things like legacy, ethics, and a sense of purpose. It's all about using your influence for something that's bigger than yourself, whether that's in your local community, your industry, or even beyond. This is what can turn a successful leader into a truly significant one.
So, we've walked through all 4 of the pillars. Now, let's take a look at what happens when you bring them all together, in balance.
And here it is, the contrast in a nutshell. On one side, you've got the result of unbalanced leadership. It's guesswork, it's unstable, it's reactive. But on the other side, you see the SOS leader. They're balanced, they're clear, and they're built on this solid foundation of purpose. I mean, the difference is just night and day.